The Silly Goose Gang Podcast.
And we are in episode 37 of the Silly Goose Gang Podcast, and we're delighted to be joined today by Mike Bolton. Mike's an underwater cinematographer, marine conservationist, former ex-US Air Force, and possibly the most exciting of all, ancient shipwreck researcher. So, Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for asking me. I'm proud to be here.
Nice. Yeah. Now, we were put in touch with you by episode 31 guest, Jeremiah Sullivan. So how do you and Jeremiah know each other? Because he's possibly the most interesting man in the world from that we've spoken to. So he recommended you to us, and we thought we have to come and speak to this guy that Jeremiah speaks so highly of.
Well, when you go against Jeremiah, that's a hard act to follow.
He's Jeremiah. He is an absolute sweetheart of a man. He's just such a cool guy. Really, really nice guy. We could have sat and spoke to him all night. He was just wonderful and so much knowledge and such a cool guy. So yeah, if Jeremiah Sullivan says somebody's interesting, you must be interested.
I don't know. Like I say, it's a hard act to follow.
yeah. No, we're sure you'll be fine.
Jeremiah. I know Jeremiah. Actually, I've known of Jeremiah for years because we all run in the same circles, shark diving and working with sharks and so forth. But I guess in the last years, you become to get more involved with these people. That we all seem to come together. And I actually met up with Jeremiah about 4 years ago. And we went to Guadalupe Island with the Great Whites to do a shoot and getting there with Jeremiah. And it was just, we just hit it off. You know, some people you clash with and you compete with. But no, he was on my level. We're both old guys. And I guess I'm the oldest of the group. I'm the oldest guy out there, I think, holding on to this business. I'm going to 80 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be diving for sharks. I'm 80 next year.
That'll be something. And there was actually a little article in a newspaper here, and I think it just came out a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and it said you were 78. And still diving with sharks, and I thought, geez, that's. I hope I'm able to do anything. To be honest with you, 78 years old. But yeah, so it's.
It's all in the heart. It's like people say, well, it's like riding a bicycle. You got people riding bicycles at 80 years old. They're out there still riding. Yeah. I guess when you've been diving, I started diving when I was 17, and just been doing it all along, so it's like I started working with sharks maybe 20 years ago. Started dedicating to sharks and filming sharks, and I just really got into them, and so I've really dedicated the last 20 years of working with sharks.
Yeah, I had a look earlier on your YouTube channel. And some of the footage is amazing.
My gosh.
keep those dogs out, right?
I'm too old for 2 Jack Russells. Damn. Hey, old guy, you got 1 Jack Russell? You got a Jack Russell? I said, no, I got 2.
Maybe that's what's keeping you so young. Maybe that's what keeps you so young.
Sharks, Jack Russell, where you got it?
No, sorry. I was just saying. I had a look on your YouTube channel, and there was just some really amazing footage of sharks, and almost to the point where it doesn't look real. When because you're so close and you can see all the details, and it almost looks like CGI. It's amazing, absolutely amazing to watch. It's just so crystal clear. It's unbelievable. So yeah. So what was the? You said you started concentrating on sharks 20 years ago. What was before that? Was it the shipwreck stuff, or was it?
Yeah, well, I've been pedaling and all this all my life. I mean, started diving, and when I was younger, way, way, way back in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, about the time you were born, Alistair, about that time. Anyway, I diving, spearfishing, because in that time of diving, when you start diving, I started diving in 1959, actually. So it was like, just spearfishing. There wasn't camera work or photography. It was like, what are we going to do out there? I mean, still fish. And then when I started doing that, is that you learn areas, and you, like, you dive in an area and you look at that and say, what is that down there? Not a fish. Looks like a bunch of cannons or a bunch of iron anchors and stuff, So you say, oh, yeah, well, whatever. And you just keep going. But then, as time went by, I actually started with a friend of mine, came down, used to write for an old magazine called Argosy Magazine. I don't know if you remember the old Argosy. And at that time, I was working for, doing underwater film work as well for an old ABC Wild World of Sports.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
yeah. That was an old one. Like my friend Jeremiah working with Wild Kingdom or whatever it was. Yeah. So anyway, he came down and he was a shipwreck guy. He was an archaeologist. And he said, there's got to be tons of shipwrecks here in Panama. And I said, shipwrecks? Like what? He said, stuff with cannons and stuff like that. I said, oh, yeah, I know what that stuff is. So, actually, nobody really knew what their values or anything like that. And so we went there and we started looking, and then I showed him what we had, and he said, damn. And he had a lot of, well, not at that moment, but he went back, came back. We stayed in touch for a few years after that, and I guess it was back in the 80s. He contacted me and he said, hey, I got a lot of research from shipwrecks in Panama and spotted some wrecks, and if you knew the longitudes, maybe it's some good wrecks worth salvaging. Because the thing about this is you just can't just find an old wreck and say, oh, this is a lot of treasure and money. Because it can just be a bunch of old crap, old iron cannons and stuff, not worth anything. But if you go back to the archives of Spain and look in the Indies and you get this information, they will give you certain shipwrecks around the world. And if you go for Panama, they will say, yeah, this wreck was lost during this period in this particular area, in this particular area. And then you go back and you say, wow, dude, I was looking at that wreck. So then you say, oh, man, that's got to be worth something. And that's how it all started. Then we started salvaging, picking up gold and silver and jewels.
So it seems to be a lot of Spanish ships. So was that a trading route, or was that somewhere that the Spanish were coming to conquer, or what? Why was there a lot around about?
Well, Panama was one of the major centers for the Spanish Empire. Okay. Of plundering gold and silver and jewels and stuff. And you had, for instance, Panama's cutting is very small. So you have the Atlantic on one side, Pacific on the other. And it's only 55 kilometers across in the narrow side where the canal is. So back in the days of the late 1500s, back more than the 1600s, you had the silver mines up in Peru, from Potosí, up in the mountains of Peru, and Spanish colonies, and they would mint the silver coins, silver bars, anything of silver, and ship it down to Callao, Peru, and then they had what they called the silver route, or Ruta de Plata, in the South Sea Armada. And they would sell these galleons full of silver coins and silver bars and all the silver to the Pacific side of Panama. And then they would unload it, which is the Pacific side, into old Panama area. They would put all this silver on mules. Okay. And they would carry it across to the Atlantic side. And from there, they had forts on the Atlantic side. And there they would meet with galleons coming from Colombia with gold and emeralds coming into Panama on the Atlantic. And from there, they would put all this silver, gold, emeralds, jewels, all this stuff on galleons for Spain.
Okay.
The Atlantic. So a lot of these ships would take off, and they would hit up off of Florida, off of Cuba, off of Bermuda, before they'd ever get to Spain. And then you had wrecks that would be lost in Panama, on just taking off at a bad time, getting hit by storms, just right after leaving the ports of Panama. We had one, it was called the 1681 Fleet, which 3 ships took off on the 3rd of January, right after New Year's, got hit in a big storm, tried to turn back, and they were all wrecked just really close to where they took off. They were all went down. And then you have one that I'm working now, which is on the Pacific side, which is all silver coins, silver bars, and all that, which is went down a ship, one of the silver ships coming in, hit on the Pacific side on a reef that it passed 1,000 times, but hit it anyway. And she went down carrying a hell of a lot of money.
Is that the San Jose?
That's the San Jose.
Okay.
She went down 1631.
Okay.
And I've been taking her out for the last, I started salvaging her actually, I found the first coin 1998.
Okay.
And put in for permits in 2001, and it's been in the court like 3 or 4 times, in and out, in and out. But we've salvaged a lot of the silver and a lot of it off of it. So it's been a very successful wreck. Right now we are shut down at the moment, but I just recovered about 50 chests that I have covered. You know, I covered them back. I found them, covered them up, leave them there. Because I'm not going to take them out with all this shit going on. So
yeah.
Yeah. So, but each one of these coins are worth quite a bit of money. You know, they're silver coins, but you got some really nice ones, and they'll average up to $2,000, $2,500 a piece. A good silver coin, piece of 8, and so there's over, you would say 2,000. We got right now. Let me calculate real quick for you. We got 2014 times. We got over 600,000 coins on that wreck.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, if we would find every one, but up right now we've got probably up to around 200,000, 180,000 coins that we have. You know, so it's
what size of a ship? What size of a ship are we talking?
Well, these are like these ship around 700 tons.
Okay. So
700 tons. Yeah, and these galleons they would draw. How you say? Well, I'm always in feet. You're in meters, right?
Now we can
Yeah,
work.
we can work feet.
Well, they they were so heavy with silver and silver bars and ballast that they would draw maybe 35 feet. So very deep.
Yeah.
So the reef is very easy. You know, they're so deep. And how I found this wreck is that I had the information from the archives of Spain, but it was very sketchy, and it was a lot of information was misplaced, and it wasn't actually the way it should have been, but it was out of a gut feeling because I know this area so well. So I've lived in Panama for 62 years. So, my home. So I knew where it was. I knew the area very well. And I started looking for it, but the last that you see is when it was anchored in the storm and started dragging. And when you start looking at the area where it was dragging, these galleons, when they talk about scopes and ropes, the most they could have would be 600 feet of scope. So you calculate that if they were really in trouble and if they were being dragged and they were letting out rope and trying to hold on during a storm, and where they were, it's far that when they got that scope out, that ship was laying on bottom and being beat to pieces. It was already below 35 feet. So it was very close in, so you knew by then it was held by ropes but being beat to pieces. Yeah. So then I went out here and started blowing and working, and there it was.
What sort of percentage wise, how many ships were the Spanish fleet losing? Like was it 5% or 10% or would they lose a lot?
Actually, one of the ships I was working on was the Maravillas up in the Bahamas, and she went down in 1654, and 1656. Sorry, 1656, and actually that almost broke Spain.
Oh, did it?
The Maravilla was almost, that was it. I mean, she was like, wow. I mean, she was a heavy flagship, treasure galleon, the top of the line. And when she went down, it just almost broke Spain because they've been losing ships all over, from Ecuador, from the, all the way up. And that was just, you go in there, actually, you can go in and read about it. The history, it'll say in there that it was when they lost the Maravillas, that really almost broke Spain.
It's interesting.
We were talking just before we spoke to you, and we were trying to figure out what's the full name? What is it? Nuestra Señora de las Maravillas. Is that correct?
Exactly, Nuestra Señora de las Maravillas.
So we came up with that must mean the marvelous women of Nuestra. Would that be correct?
Yeah, the Señora. Well, a lot of the ships in Spain had Nuestra Señora. Our Lady. Our Lady, the Maravillas. Our Lady, the whatever. So a lot of them say the Nuestra Señora de Maravilla. For instance, the one here in Panama, it's just called San Jose or San Joseph. The San Joseph is actually her sailing name, but the nickname was called San Jose. And there's another San Jose lost in Colombia. She's the mother lode of all fucking treasure. Fuck.
Oh.
She's billions.
Really?
Yeah, but very deep. Sitting probably, I think she started close to 600 feet, 500 feet. Something. But she's loaded with gold.
It must have been absolutely infuriating in the 1600s when you have, whatever the value was at the time. Now we would say billions, but when you see gold sinking to the bottom of the sea and it's there, but you can do nothing about it. Nothing about it.
There it is. I go over down there. Go get it.
There's nothing you can do.
I'll shoot you out a little explanation on that. Is that when the Spanish conquered Central America, South America, is that here in Panama, for instance, you had the archipelago of the Pearl Islands, and that's also the silver route. But there were a lot of Indians in those days diving for pearls.
Oh, okay.
Pearl divers. And they conquered these divers. They made them work for them. They say, hey, you're the slaves or whatever. And they would use them as divers because they always needed to work on ships, lose anchors, whatever, and they would send them down, tie onto an anchor or whatever they needed them to do. And they used these divers. So when they would hit shallow reefs, they invented a bell. It looked like a cup, halfway cup. And they would drop it down, poof, and hold the air inside and drop it down. Because remember, a lot of these ships, they hit reefs. They just didn't sink in the ocean. There's very few that happened to, unless it was a man of war in a battle or something. But if it's just a normal galleon, got hit in a storm, but it ended up on shallow reefs, and that's just where they were mostly lost. And some of them drifted into deeper water after hitting a reef. So once they hit these reefs, they would come back as soon as possible. If a storm or whatever, they would drop down the bell, pin the divers down, start picking up, tie on to chest, tie on to silver bars, whatever they could get up, and they would just tie it up and the Indians would run in, take a breath, and stay there, go out, and the sharks would eat them or whatever. But they did salvage their own ships those days. And actually, the most famous ships have been salvaged. And that's good because they keep such excellent records in the archives of Spain. They would keep everything, okay, we took this much, we took that much. And finally, the King of Spain, it was Philip IV, Philip III, whoever was there, he would say, okay, that's it. I'm satisfied with what we took off, whatever. And the rest would stay there. It's because the sand would cover it up, the storms would move out to deeper water. Because if they would sink, some of the hulls would set with air in it, and they would bounce across the bottom.
Okay.
Okay.
And the currents, and they would just go out sometime in the deeper water. And you find these ships with gold and silver scattered over miles. Not just blah, there it is,
Yeah.
So you'll be hitting a lot of stuff, and then all of a sudden it just fucking peters out. Fuck, where's the rest of it, So then you got to start looking for a trail.
Yeah,
So
that's super interesting. One thing you said, Mike, you'd mentioned about permits. So who owns the wrecks? Where does it ultimately go back to? Because obviously you're salvaging them, but you need permits. So is there a percentage that goes to Spain? Is there a percentage goes to how does that kind of work in terms like maritime and salvage law?
Yeah. Well, in Panama, they claim it in Panama waters. You have to go in through a permit. Now, these permits are sometimes very difficult. It depends because the government's always changing. When the government changes, things change. You know how that goes. So it's a 60-40 split once you get a permit. But the problem is that you have to actually ask for a search permit. And then you go out and you search and you do your work. Excuse me. And once that you find the ship, then you have to claim it. And that's where the difficulty starts, is that you say, okay, here it is. I've proven I found it. Here's coins, the dates of the ship, or a manifest with stuff on it. And then you have to put in all these permits for archaeological work and all this. Who's going to do the work? Who's going to do that? Blah, blah, blah. The inspectors, all the stuff, reports. And then if you're lucky, they give you the permit to salvage.
Okay.
And then that's a 60-40 split. And 60 is for us, 40 for the government. But you always have inspectors on board. We have our laboratories where we clean, preserve, and we always have the people there watching. Everything's on a database. It's like everything's. I mean, even if it's a musket ball, it'll go on the database.
Okay.
So it's very well documented.
Yeah, but imagine.
I'll tell you what our problem is that I don't know how you feel about it, but it's like Trump. I don't know how you feel about that, but there is an issue with UNESCO.
Yeah.
You know who UNESCO is, right? Yeah. So now they get involved in just about everything. They come down and say, oh, no, you can't do that. But I mean, you look at a ship that's underground, under sand for 300 and some years. And I mean, if it's not brought out, it's going to stay there or disappear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So UNESCO says, no, if you're going to salvage it, it belongs to the country, it belongs to Spain, it belongs to us. You go do it free. And we'll say thank you very much and put your name there, But they're not willing to say, okay, we'll pay you so much and you do it, So my permits were all in Panama are pre-UNESCO, the grandfather.
Okay.
My contract. So before Panama signed an UNESCO agreement, I had my permit. But my permit now is for 10 years. So my permit now is running out. And I'm trying to get it extended. Because if I have to redo it, I go back under the UNESCO rules.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the fucking things about Spain, they ripping my ass up every day. I mean, I got barred from the wreck 3 years ago myself. They threw me off. I couldn't even go. Yeah, they want to take my name off and everything. Yeah. I mean, I got really, I mean, you know, it was like crazy. You know, I had my partners, I had my people working, but they wanted to throw me out completely, the government, because I went in so hard.
Is this because, does it become worse when there's billions of dollars at stake? Is that the issue?
What did you say? Sorry?
I said, is it more difficult when there's billions of dollars involved? Is that the issue, or is it just paperwork nonsense and people want to have control, or is it about the amount of money at stake?
You talking about money, you mean?
Yeah. So is it more difficult to go and get a permit for the shipwreck when there's billions of dollars?
Yeah.
Is that the issue?
Who's going to salvage a shipwreck and if it's not worth anything? I mean, the shipwrecks. Like Blackbeard. You've heard of Blackbeard, of course. Yeah. His wreck's up there in South Carolina. It's not worth anything. There's not even one coin on it. But because they proved that it was his ship. It was called the whatever. Anyway, they did prove it was his ship, but there's nothing of value there. So that's sort of an archaeological thing, and I guess put it in a museum, then people will probably pay for that. So nobody really is going to do that. I mean, we have wrecks here in Panama that actually by Drake. You know Drake?
Francis Drake,
Drake, yeah. So that is that's an important wreck that needs to be going into UNESCO, something like that, into museums. That's good, but the government or somebody has to pay to do that. So, Becky, can you do me a favor? I'm on camera. Another thing, take your dogs out. Sure, my wife.
That's okay.
Yeah. So, So I can see that, but when you're going into money, I mean, you're looking at. I remember the first permit I got in Panama. They said, "Oh yeah, okay, the idiot wants to go out and look for treasure." It was like, and then the minute you come in with gold and silver or jewels in your hand, things change.
Yeah.
People say, "Who did that? Who gave him that permit? How do you do that? That belongs to me. I'm the president, or whatever." So that's just what happens. But now, in this last salvage attempt that we've been going on, it was more or less civilized for the first three years of salvaging. I mean, we had 4 divisions with the government, which was good, to take out our stuff, and we kept our part, they kept their part, and it was civilized business. Then the government changed into a new president. And then they came to me and said, "Oh, your permits are not good. They're illegal under the last president because he was corrupt." And I said, "Oh, shit. I was corrupt. So my time. What are you talking about?" So it was like, how much for me now? And they confiscated a lot of our coins, the treasure that went into the customs. And they're still holding them today, a lot of my treasure. And actually, after this thing's over, I mean, I have a right to see my treasure still there that they've confiscated. But it's only one part. I mean, I have another part. The other part, they took this one part. And I said, "Dude, this one's okay, but you confiscated that." "Yeah, but that was under a different time and a different law." He said, "Well, yeah, whatever." But anyway, it's this long story, guys. But it's fun.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what is there any other wrecks that you want to go and have a look for? Is there anything in your back of your mind that you want to go investigate or?
Well, here in Panama, we have a couple of wrecks. We have one wreck is up there on the Atlantic side of Panama. It's never been worked. It's never been found. but she's carrying a lot of gold coins on it. It's a French ship, and it was up in a place called Old Caledonia, which was a Dutch settlement, way up on the Atlantic side. And this French ship was there. She went down in 1690, I think, 1690 something. And she's carrying a lot of gold, and it's in shallow water. Very shallow water. You know, I found gold coins right up on the beach almost.
Yeah.
So, it's like, you know.
It does make you wonder how.
How what?
I'm saying it makes you wonder how much gold, gold coins are in the ocean. There must be billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of gold in the ocean. Yeah, maybe a lot.
That hasn't been found. There's so much. I mean, you go on auctions, treasure auctions, and you can see the price of these things. I mean, a gold coin is average of 14 to 18,000 a piece.
Yeah.
A piece of 8. I mean, what you call that? Oh, they're not called a piece of 8. They're called 8 a school.
Okay.
And they're about 26 grams, 24 karat gold, and they're, you know, they always stay pretty well good shape because gold doesn't deteriorate underwater. It stays the same. Silver gets eat up pretty bad, you know. So silver, you get a percentage of the coins that are really good, and you have a lot that are not that good. But they all have a value. Like I said, we have some of these silver coins for $2,500, which are the really good ones. But we always say, there's a saying, I said, how do you, because the Spanish always say so much value, so much in a peso. They say peso, the Spanish, those peso. And so you calculate, well, how much is a peso worth? You know, that has to be figured out between the local treasure hunters, the people that sell treasure coins and stuff. So they come out with a flat fee of, say, $500 a peso. $500 a peso is actually one coin. It usually comes out to one coin. So you can say the one coin on an average of all the coins, say 500. Because you have some that are worth $150 and you have some that are worth $2,500 more. But average 7, 8, 9 in that area. So you take 500 and you say, well, I got 200,000 coins and they're worth $500 a piece. How much is my rep worth? You know?
A lot. Yeah.
That's how you calculate it. So it's that's the way you look at it.
How many do people go and try and take some coins for themselves? You know, is that something that goes on, or is it too difficult?
Well, only me.
Is that something like in ancient Egypt, people used to rob tombs and that kind of that sort of thing? Is that something that happens with shipwrecks?
Well, when we have our divers working,
they
finish up the end of the day. I put a magnetometer over them like this. A hand metal detector.
Yeah.
It rings. Come here. What do you got? But then I don't do that. But you know your people. But I'm sure the guys have plundered a coin or two here and there. But the thing is, we have inspectors on board when we're working. Okay, from the government, and they're on board. So actually, when we're working, everything is put on immediately onto our database immediately. We have our computer room on the ship. Immediately comes up, put in the tank. It's tagged. It's put inside. The inspectors they see it. Maybe they take notes. Maybe they don't. I don't know. A lot of times, like I've had the inspectors come in and they'll be saying, "Oh, I don't want to go out today. You guys go ahead. I trust you." I said, no. That's all I need from the government to shut me down because my inspector's not there. I'm stealing. So no, wait. I want people on board. I don't want it to cost me too much money. So they. I've had the inspectors say, "Hey, can I have a coin?" Like that. I said, "No."
Yeah.
Because everything's on a database. I mean, what can I say? If it disappears in the numbers, I mean, that's the deal. I mean, not even myself. I wait till the division comes. I take mine. As soon as the inspector wants one, I'll say, here, dude, take it. Give him one, nice guy, a coin. But that's it, because that's not my part.
I think that would be...
I had one problem when the ex-president here, his son's in jail now. He's in trouble too. His name is Martinetti. And anyway, his sons came in one day on a plane, and they come out the wreck, come up to the laboratory, and they said, my buddy's here, I'm going to show him all my treasure. I said, you show him your treasure? Yeah, it all belongs to my dad. And I said, yeah, it does? I didn't know that. My dad owns this country. He's been president. I said, oh, okay. So he really arrogant, and he said, well, I'm taking some coins here from me and my friends. And I said, no, you're not. I said, you're not taking anything from here. He said, no. He said, these belong to my dad. He said, you want problems? I'll call the police. I said, what are you going to call the police, man? This is a government contract, And the guys wanted to put coins in their pocket, But I stopped. I stopped that. But that was the only problem I really had of people wanting to plunder.
Yeah. Sounds like a real asshole.
Yeah, well, they're in jail now. They got caught by the United States for laundering money, so they're in Guatemala waiting for extradition in the U.S.
Oh, oh well.
So I can talk about them on the phone. Otherwise, I wouldn't say anything because I'd be in trouble with you.
Yeah.
No, that's all good. That is all good. So when did you transition then, Mike, over from the shipwreck and then into the sharks? Where did that crossover start to happen?
It all falls together, I mean, I just always like to do that, do my underwater photography, underwater video, underwater work. And I just did a little bit of both, And I was working with sharks, and then I got a call one day from a friend of mine back in 2002 or 3, something like that. And he says, hey, why don't you come up to Mexico, Guadalupe, Mexico, and dive with the great whites with me. He said, I've opened up a business up there with taking out people with great whites. Well, this is really before Guadalupe had really ever got going. It was really nobody going out there. And he was an IMAX photographer, IMAX video guy. And I had worked with him on Survivor because I did 3 or 4 Survivor series with Mark Burnett, the owner of Survivor. Yeah, old Mark. I think he's Irish or English or something. Mark Burnett. I don't know. He's another one. But I'd worked with him on those series, and he was an underwater photographer. And I joined him as a backup photographer, video guy. And so anyway, he invited me over, and so I went up, and man, I got hooked on the great whites. And that's what you could, you didn't use cages. You go out in the cage, get out, and if you got in trouble, run back to the cage, And it was a wild time. And I just fell in love with it. And I said, man, this is what I want to do. Is just film great whites and film all types of sharks in action. And so, yeah.
Is Guadalupe Island the one where they've got that giant female? Is it Big Blue she's called?
Deep Blue.
Deep Blue.
Deep Blue, yeah.
How big is she?
Huh?
How big is she?
She's about 21 foot. Yeah. 7 meters.
That's a big animal.
Yeah, she weighs probably over 5,000 pounds. She's a fucking animal, man. I mean, I've seen her several times. She's like enormous. I mean, I got a couple of other sharks I really love to work with out there that I see almost every other year or every year. And they're up to 18 feet, 6 meters. But, nothing comparison. I mean, you put them together, it looks like a minnow. It's like these great whites, it's not their length, it's their girth.
Yeah.
You know, the big round they are. You know, it's like they just, you know, it's like unbelievable. And if you turn around and a 20-foot great white's on you,
You have problems.
I always call that El Señor. The God, man. I mean, you know, you're in God's hand and you turn around and look at that animal, it's like, you know. And they're so smart. You know, they're so smart.
Yeah.
I mean, eyeballing these great whites. I mean, I've been on great whites that you can touch. You know, I filmed them, actually having to push them off with one hand. And they, like, I mean, you've seen some of the videos. You start sticking my hand in the arm, you're like, you take it off. But
I hope you're wearing. I hope you're wearing a shark armor suit when you're doing this.
no, I don't have one. You know,
Jeremiah.
I told Jeremiah. He said, you know, it wouldn't help me anyway. You know. But actually, Jeremiah and I, did he tell you about that? That we were going to Guadalupe to do one for the great white?
No, he didn't.
Yeah, well, actually, we were going this year, but we had to cancel everything because nobody's moving. So, yeah, we were working with Nat Geo, and we were going to Guadalupe, and we were going to try one of his new suits, but not wearing it. Of course, you know, if a great white or a large shark, like a tiger or bull, grabs you, I mean, this particular suit that he's working on, it wouldn't penetrate. You know, it wouldn't go in and penetrate and bring blood, but it would rip your fucking arm off. I mean, that would be the problem. I mean, it's the torque of these sharks that are so incredible. You know, when they hit, they just, you know, it's like, whoa. You know, that's the problem. And so it would, though, help. I mean, you know, like a lot of great whites bite people and let go. You know, this is what happens. But people bleed out. You know, they die because they don't want to eat you. Once they find out that, you know, they don't want you. But you can bleed out because of that bite. And that would help that you could wear this particular suit or this whatever if you're surfing or whatever. And it doesn't weigh all that much. And if you got hit in the leg, it would help from being, you know, I mean, they may give you a really bad bruise and really fuck you up. But, you know, I don't know whether to rip it off. You know, I mean, you know, thing is, I mean, I've been studying these sharks for a long time, and I've seen them take seals. I've seen them feed on carcasses, and I've seen them I've seen them actually go for turtles and just push them away. Yeah. It's really not on their menu. And I walk up to a turtle and hit it and bounce it off, roll it, and just keep going around it, you know? So, you know, I've had him come up to me. I've had him hit me. I've had him bump me, which you don't like. I mean, that's a very, very hard animal when he hits you. But they hit you very easily because the great white normally will bump before he hits, and they're very curious about checking you out, you know? But you're not really, the only reason I see that happening is on a territorial basis, not on a predator basis, because you don't look like their prey. The reason people get attacked by seals on surfboards, is that a lot of time on a surfboard, they look like a seal.
Yeah.
You know, they're laying on this surfboard and the shark's underneath, he's looking up, and the guy's with his arms and legs, and to them, it looks like a seal. And they may circle it, and they run, and they hit it, and they grab, but as soon as they know what it is, they'll let go. I mean, nobody gets chopped up and eat up. If you see everybody brought in, they may die because they lost a limb or they bleed out. But they're not there to eat you, you know? So I've seen this happen a lot. I've dove with them with surfboards beside me. Actually, I did a surfboard from a guy from Australia 2 years ago. And it was actually on Shark Week. And we had the surfboard, and we had a dummy on it. Okay, with the arms and legs out, weight that we hear. And I was out filming that out of the water, filming that, and here's the surfboard. And he circled it, really didn't worry about it, bumped it, really got mad because jerking the board away with ropes. He turned around again, went for it again. Finally, he hit it. And she just was a female, and she went right up, man, and just kept boom, and just hit it, man, and grabbed it, threw it completely up against the side of the boat. You know, I mean, the board, smack, you know. But she didn't even turn to bother me. No way. I mean, like I wasn't interested. So it shows you a lot, you know. I mean,
yeah.
But you got to watch yourself, you know. Like Jeremiah says, they're all unpredictable, Mike. I said, yeah, I know. You know, we get a little bit self-conscious, you know. We say, oh,
yeah. I mean, you know, like you know, I've seen you know, pictures. You know, people have been, you know, out in the wilds and trying to take a picture of a bear because they have this idea that a bear is just, you know, it's a teddy bear, and then the bear rips his arm off, and they go, "Oh, the bear's an asshole." And you go, "No, you're trying to take a picture of a fucking wild animal. It can, you know, just turn.
We turn on you anytime.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that, you know, obviously, you know, the sharks will be the same, you know.
Yeah, well, this is how you learn. I mean, people say, you know, what do you do? You know, Jesus, I don't focus anything. You know, I never look through a camera because that's when you're going to get your ass eaten. Or you're going to get your ass in. Because you can't be sitting there like this and saying, oh, man, let me check this out, you know. Dude, you know, you got to learn to shoot like this. You got to learn to be watching this hand to be able to use for whatever and be able to shoot like this and click that fucker and hope it's getting it. You know, because you set your camera the way it should be and you hope it's going to do. You do a lot of posts because, you know, you're not be able to set everything that you want, the colors and so forth, because it just doesn't work. If you're sitting down at the bottom, filming a bunch of little fish, you can dot everything in and just get a nice, pretty view. But that's not with great whites or tigers or bulls or feeding sharks. You just can't do that. Like I had a friend of mine. Listen, I'll tell you a story. This girl, I was filming tiger sharks with her, and this girl, you know, she was really supposed to be. I mean, she was a good photographer, and she was a good shark diver. There's no getting around it. And she wore a ponytail, you know, blonde, she tied up, and she worked. She was filming, working, and I was filming. We were four of us on a shoot, and I'm watching her. She's filming, and I'm filming, and I'm watching her, and she's shooting, and she's checking the shit. You know, with 6 or 8 tiger sharks swimming, circling, you know, and she's checking her shit. You know, I don't check nothing. You know, I'm not going to look at nothing to see how anything is except what's going on out there. Because this is the second that you lose. This is the second. Because sharks, I don't know what Jeremiah told you, is at the eye side of a shark. You never lose the eye contact with a shark. If I'm diving with tigers, all I got to do is just turn my back like this.
Yeah.
Turn back around, and they'll be coming right up on you.
Yeah.
They know what you're doing. They know your eyesight. They know when you're watching them. It's that apex predator ambush, and they watch you all the time. And they know when you're not paying attention. And anyway, this tiger shark came around from behind her, circled her, and went down on her head like this when she was filming, and went to grab her. And luckily, there was another diver there, and he went for her, you know, and went for the shark, but he went over like this, but all her hair went up into his teeth. And just grabbed her like a rubber doll and just dragged her, shook her like a doll. I mean, you're talking about a 16-foot tiger. And just dragging her hair, you know, and she was like, and, you know, camera, drop her in the camera, and she's like fucking being dragged. I mean, that's scary.
What,
so you never turn your back.
One of the things that Jeremiah said, and it sounds so simply stupid, is you know, if you can keep out of a shark's mouth, it can't do anything to you. So if you're in a position to just avoid its mouth, then it can't harm you. You think it's so stupid. It's so simple.
Very simple. Very simple. But there's a lot of people out there that like to feed sharks. You know, like,
Yeah.
woo. I mean, it's one of the stupidest things I have ever seen.
Yeah.
People say, do you feed sharks? I said, never.
Yeah.
If I'm working with sharks, I'll go down sometimes. I'll put down cages of boxes of fish, and I'll drop it down to an area that I need to bring up the sharks, or bring it up. And then once they're up, I may leave it to keep it in for a while. But the only thing that's going out of there is a little chum and a little oil, pieces of scrap, but little pieces that's going out with the current. Because usually I use frozen chunks of fish in this box. But then once the sharks are there, I'll take it out of the water. And they would hang around. You know, they just circle around their circle, whatever. And then if I start to lose them, then I'll drop it down, all the way down, and bring it up slowly. You know, and then work with them like that. But never, ever take a piece of fish and feed a shark, ever. Because that's just craziness. It's I don't agree with what these people are doing, and I think that someday somebody's going to get hurt bad.
Yes, it's really popular in the Bahamas, isn't it? Particularly, taking tourists out and getting them to kneel down and hold a bit of whitefish and let the I don't know what shark. I think they might be reef sharks.
Yeah,
but
off of Florida as well. Off of Florida, they're doing the same thing. Yeah. And I just don't agree with that, man. You know, if I go out, like there's a lot of people up at Tiger Beach working where Jeremiah was working, and you can see how these sharks are. You know, these hammerheads and these big tigers, you know, they become very aggressive to the people because they're looking for the food. Yeah. That is what's happening. It's because they got that crate and they got that food there. So they feed one, feed it like a dog. You know, you feed one Jack Russell and you don't feed the other, you know, he's going to sit there and say, wait a minute, dude. And he's going to attack you or attack the other dog, you know?
I think, you know, people have to remember any time that they are, you know, dealing with a wild animal is that you have to respect that it is a wild animal and it's not, you know, even if you think, you know how often you see, you know, somebody getting too comfortable with a dog and the dog bites them and cuts them, you know, they will revert to type at some point and you know, well, they will attack you. Yeah.
You know, everything's now sharks. You know, it was like 20 years ago, it was like, oh, you shark. But now everybody wants to get in the water with sharks. You know? The thing is, okay, I agree that you can show people things like that, but I think it's gone a little bit crazy. You know?
I am not trying to get in the water with sharks.
Yes, I was going to invite you to go. Jump in on a great white.
Yeah.
On deep blue.
I'm happy to look at your pictures.
Huh? The work? Okay. Yeah. Well, you can look at my picture. Don't worry.
I look at your pictures. So you keep doing your thing. You keep filming them, and I'll look at them.
What we're doing now is actually we're working on the situation of hammerheads here in Panama. You know, we're not only just out taking pictures and so forth. We're also doing the conservation work, and I've been working on this for maybe 3 years. I started with Rob Stewart, the guy that died that was making the movie Sharkwater. I don't know if you saw it. Sharkwater Extinction, the last one, but you know he died. I was out doing a shoot with him with great whites, and 3 months later he's dead. I mean, it's a kid, a young guy, 20s. So anyway, we've been trying to do with these hammerheads, you know, saving these baby hammerheads. They're being caught by the thousands and thousands, and mangroves that are coming in every year, being chopped up into ceviche and chopped up in, you know, they're just really, really insane. And, you know, it takes such a long period for a hammerhead, for instance, the gestation period of a hammerhead, and then to grow to 8 to 10 years to be able to mature, and then 12 months, 8 to 12 months pregnant. So that's what, 12 years before it can replenish itself. So if you're fishing them out, what do you got, you know?
Yeah, so we were talking before about the on a couple of episodes actually about the problem of particularly finning, shark finning, and just how
Yeah.
wasteful that is, and how terrible it is that they literally just take the fins off and then dump the bodies back into the ocean and tens of thousands of them, right across the Pacific, through the Atlantic, both sides, and it's just so wasteful, so wasteful.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I've seen this, man. I've seen it with my eyes, and it's really, when you see it on a movie, it's bad, but when you see it in person, it's even worse. I mean, you really want to kill some people,
Yeah, but it's so stupid, so dumb.
Well, I go in and do some undercover work sometimes, and I go down to the docks and I'll go in and look, and you see these boats coming in, and they got all these, I mean, just thousands of dead sharks chopped up, no fins, just a body. Yeah. And then in another containers, you see all of these fins in big tanks of water, big tanks of fins, and they're being sold off to the Chinese, But the Chinese are ripping us, man. I mean, they're coming in with these long liners down here, and they're just, they're raping the sea, man.
Yeah.
They're now in the Galapagos. Now off the Galapagos, they're going in now. They're. I was just talking this morning at a conference call this morning with some guys in the Cocos Islands off Costa Rica. And now they're finding them on the limits of Costa Rica, and they want to know if they're coming into Coiba area of Panama yet. And I said, boy, I don't know. We got to get patrol boats out there. I was talking this morning as well to the director of our fishing department. So, dude, I've been working all morning, not just laying around. So, it's like trying, but right now it's very critical. It's very critical right now. It's over the fishing of sharks. And you'd be surprised. I mean, it's just like the amount of sharks that are fished. It's just incredible. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so the problem is in Panama is that we have a law that doesn't prohibit fishing sharks. And to change that law is very difficult. So the only thing that they did was to say, okay, you can fish the sharks, but you have to has to be with the fins. Okay? So they said, okay. So they bring in the body on one side and the fins on another. And the government said, well, they're together. They brought them in together. Bullshit. That's crap. It doesn't work. And so now we put in a new resolution to stop the selling and purchasing of shark products.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fish it, but you can't sell it or purchase it.
Yeah.
This is the law that we're going up against now. And now the fishermen are coming in and really wanting to fight us. I mean, they're really getting mean. The girl this morning, the director of the fisheries, she was saying, Mike, I'm really scared, man. I've gotten all kinds of threats and stuff. I don't know what to do. I said, man, Flora, I know what you're going through, man. Damn, I don't know, I mean, I've got a couple of nasty emails, or not emails, phone calls from numbers threatening me as well. And so now they're saying, you know what, we're going to fish all the sharks, kill them all, then you don't have to worry about them. I said, yeah, it's really stupid. It's really nice comments, you guys. So what do you get involved? You get in a fight, you're trying to do with a fisherman. There's no way. For instance, here in Panama, the waters are not very clear here. You don't have the opportunity for shark diving to promote, which I really don't like promoting shark diving. I don't think that's really a cool thing. But only for me. No, seriously. But not. I mean, really. I mean, people. Oh, I'm going to jump in the water with sharks. Well, I don't. Okay, whatever. I'm always got that on me. But. So you say you can't offset that. So what can I tell you to make your difference on your money that you're catching sharks? Because he said, I have to feed my family. I have to do this. And if there's no fish, then I have the sharks to fall back on. Well, it's a balance that you understand. It's like, I don't know. What can I tell you?
But this is why it's very, very important that we have, guys like you, guys like Jeremiah who are, fighting these things, and trying to highlight these things, and we would never have known, about these things, if it wasn't for you guys.
There's people out there doing it, a lot of these big people, but they're famous, they go on TVs and they make all this stuff, and these foundations of money. So they continue because it's a lot of money,
Yeah.
But I've met these people and I say, dude, time to lay down. I need some help now. I need to know what we're going to do here. I'll get back to you. It's all about money. It's all about money for these people. And I said, Dave, I don't get one fucking dime from no fucking where.
Yeah.
I don't have foundations. I have nothing. I mean, if I'm fighting the sharks, out of my pocket. When I do my things, I sell my videos. And what I say, they said, well, what do you do about conservation? What are you doing? You got a foundation, you help them? I said, no, fuck no. What would I want a foundation for? To give money? No. What I do is I make my money on my videos and my photos and showing the appreciation of sharks, how they look, they're beautiful animals. They should be slaughtered and killed. When you see my videos or you see my work, you say how beautiful these animals are, man. Well, how come you kill them? They should be killed. That's my way of conservation. And if I get something back on that by selling a shirt or by selling a picture or something, then okay. But mostly it's out of my pocket. It's out of my heart, and I'm out there and fighting it, and I'll do it. I want to do it. And I've just been contacted by. You can check it out. You should check it out. It's called Apex Survival Maiden Voyage. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay. We will look it up. Definitely. Yeah, we have Amazon Prime.
You can buy the movies or watch it. For some countries Anyway, it's Apex Survival Maiden Voyage by Jake.
Write that down.
It was done, filmed by him, producer. It's with my colleagues, Ocean Ramsey, Juan Oliphant, Tanya Van Damme, I think her name is, an actress out of Europe. Anyway, this is the first episode. It's called, it's the pilot. And now we're doing the second one, which will be Apex Survival Panama.
Okay.
If you go on my Instagram, you'll see me talking about it and this and that with Jake's and Apex Survival. Go in there and check it out. And this is going to be a thing following the hammerheads. We're going all the way into Galapagos where they're tagged. And this is the conversation this morning I was having early this morning. People, the marine biologists, these big hammerhead females are coming toward Panama. And when they get into Panama, where their pups are born into the mangrove areas of Panama and they're fished out, they're being killed. So the tags are disappearing.
Okay.
We can't track them. So now we're saying, okay, guys, what is a shark? What do you make on that shark? I'm trying to befriend some of these fishermen. I will pay you for all the hammerheads that you can get. You don't kill them, you give me the tag. If you net them, you catch them, take the tag, give it to me, and I'll pay you 3 times the worth of the shark itself. Not a problem for me. And this year, in the migration, I have 2 fishing boats that are willing to take out GoPros and film on the site, what they're doing, and hopefully releasing them when they get them. And I'm going to pay them out of my pocket for whatever if I see you're releasing 10 hammerheads, I'm going to pay you $100 a piece for each hammerhead. And I'm going to see that on film, and I want that back to me, So I think if we start doing something like that, it's going to make a difference,
Yeah.
So
Hopefully.
And so this is what we're going to be doing on this second episode. And it's going to be doing that. It's going to be diving with sharks. It's going to be diving with whales on this side, on the Pacific side. a little bit of treasure hunting maybe. And then it's going, and then we're going to do turtles on the Atlantic side. And so it's going to be very interesting. We're going to have a couple of actresses on board as well. And it's going to be nice. The second episode.
Ocean Ramsey, I follow Ocean Ramsey on Instagram, and her stuff's incredible.
Yeah, she's my colleague. I work with Ocean and Juan. We do 3 trips every year to Guadalupe Island together.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we work closely with Ocean. I guess I've been working with Ocean for the last 12 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Didn't know there was another connection.
Yep.
One last thing that I wanted to ask you, Mike, was you're saying you're approaching 80. Are you just keeping going until the absolute end? Are you just going to keep diving and doing this until this is
like I said, I would rather die in a shark's mouth. I don't want to drown because I hate that. I think it's a bad way to go. But or have a heart attack and die. That'd be cool under the water. But I wouldn't want to die laying in the bed with cancer or COVID or anything like that. I try to work out. I work out 3 times a week. As you know, Jeremiah is 60 something and he works out all the time. He's a fucking monster. That guy. I feel like a weakling for him. But
I think
I'm watching this TV program and this old black guy was there and he was 89 years old and he's still working. And the guy says, "Have you thought about retiring?" When you retire, he says, "Well, I talk to the good Lord every day and he hadn't mentioned anything about retiring yet."
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's basically my idea. I'm going to keep going.
I think that's such a cool thing. To be approaching 80 and still able to do it and have no intention of stopping.
Nope.
It's that's something that's super cool, and I think we would both like to be in that that position, to be that age. And
there, I can see it. You guys are the adventurers.
Yeah, we I definitely like adventures. I don't like the sea. I do some open water swimming, but I don't like the sea. The sea scares me.
I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite. I've scuba dived and surfed up here in Scotland many a time, so I love the ocean and the sea, and Chris doesn't.
It's terrifying.
I know now. You ever heard of a company called? Wait, hold on. I can't believe this. Brewdog.
Brewdog, yeah.
Brewdog, yeah.
But I took the owner to Guadalupe Island. James.
Didn't we think about asking the owner to come on the podcast, Ali? Is that?
We did. It was one of the names we'd put in the hat as a potential guest one day.
James. James. Yeah, James. Fuck. James what?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I took James to Guadalupe, and he was just so fucking amazed that he contacted me one day, and he says, I'd like to take my team to Guadalupe Island, and I hear that you're the one, the man to do it. And I said, well, tell me about yourself a little bit. And he took his team, his group to work with him, and an underwater, because they also have like a Brewdog channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing stuff. So he wanted to do that. He actually just sent me the trailer after 2 years.
Okay.
And I said, "Damn, James, looking cool, man." After 2 years, he sent me the trailer and of the movie of the Guadalupe trip, and he talked such good stuff about me. I feel humbled.
Okay.
So if you do talk to him, just tell him, "Oh, Mike Bolton said, hey,
I think.
Where the fuck are you, bro?" he bought a lot of my coins.
Okay.
The company
So
buys a lot of my coins for for his team, and he gives them out like on bonuses and stuff like that.
That's cool. I feel like we now have to reach out to James and have this conversation with him.
Do it.
Yeah, I think we will have to do that now.
Tell me, and to tell you about his Guadalupe trip.
I will. I think that's what we will
Because
do.
you know, James' family are professional fishermen, and he grew up as a professional fisherman.
And there, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ali, they are from the Isle of Skye. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah, they're from the Isle of Skye, so that's a fishing community, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, you know, he showed me videos, showed me stuff he's done, his dad, his family, you know. And he just felt that one day, you know, I've taken so much for the sea, I want to give back, you know, in conservation and maybe show this. And he was like amazed. I mean, I never seen too many guys that put him down in a cage, because of course I don't let these people out of the cage. You know, these kind of people, you gotta let them stay in the cage. But I took him down, and he was like in awe. I mean, he couldn't. It was crazy. And I sat there with him for 10 days out on the ship, him and his team, and it was a fucking fun trip.
Isn't it a very small world?
It's a small world. I'm telling you, it's so
such
fucking
a small world.
I mean, here you got Jeremiah in California, you got James over in Ireland, you got me in fucking Panama, and Jesus,
such a small world. Well,
and I'm so glad you asked me to join you guys, man. It's been fun.
It's been a fun conversation. It's been a fun conversation, Mike. Thanks.
We probably talked too much, but you have to cut it
down.
No.
You talked the perfect amount. Just for anyone that's looking to find out more about you and your work, Mike, and we'll add these into the notes. Where can people find you on social media or on the internet? Where's the best place to find you? I'm sorry, go back. Just in terms of if people are looking to find out more about your work.
Oh yeah, you know what? I like to use Instagram. I'm working on my webpage. I mean, you would think I would have a webpage, because I've been getting so many people that are coming to me for pictures, for to buy my photos, pictures, you know, and stuff. And I just been, so one year I'm going to do it, and I just, because of my own self, I get enough of what I want to do. But everybody's been on top of me to put a web page together. And so I said, okay, why not, you know? And this friend of mine in Switzerland, I guess it's Switzerland, and also a friend of mine. And so anyway, I'm putting it together so that I can do my photos. But anyway, the best thing for me is Instagram.
Okay.
I mean, that's where I operate. Awesome.
I'll tag your Instagram page in when we post this as well, so everyone can follow you and find out more about all your great work that you do.
Great, man. Appreciate it. And if you need me for anything, just give me a shout.
We will do.
Just get the times right. I'm sorry about the mix-up, guys.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, no,
it's fine, Mike. It's fine.
Good fun, guys. Good fun. Good fun, guys. Damn. We'll do it again.
We'll do it again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye, Chris. Bye, Alistair. Bye.
The Silly Goose Gang Podcast.